Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Coming Out with Liz and Eddie. I'm Eddieconner.
And I'm lizlayug.
And the title of this show, moving beautifully through season 3, is Using Your Psychic Superpowers. And we're opening with a couple of really great questions. The first one is, what are psychic superpowers?
That's a great question. I'm really excited for this show, Eddie. Okay. Does everyone have them? If not, can you cultivate these extrasensory abilities?
Perfect. And some of your psychic superpowers are naturally ingrained in you as an individual, and they're extensions of your soul esteem or literally your soul attributes while you're in this wonderful petite flower princess, giver, goddess body aligned with source energy on the earth plane. And all of us, which you might not know, have a psychic superpower blueprint. So let's start back at the top. What are your psychic superpowers? Actually, I flubbed that up.
You did not.
Oh, okay, I didn't.
No, you didn't.
Okay, so what are some of your psychic superpowers, Liz?
Okay, so the most common psychic superpowers are, I want to say clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairknowing, clairsensitivity, mediumship.
Also empathic abilities, sensitivity, and just feeling that sense of alignment with the greater power inside of yourself and both outside of yourself at the same time. But in harmony with these invisible gifts within you is a deep-seated emotional attribute that comes straight from the soul.
Right.
And the soul's that invisible, pure, positive part of yourself that's unconditionally loving. And that soul that lives in you and outside of you simultaneously contains some of your best psychic superpowers. And
that's true. What are some examples of these superpowers, Eddie?
Some of the, first of all, some of your most psychic superpowers come from parts of you that are fragmented, damaged, broken, like really hard knocks that we've experienced on the earth plane, that when we get past them, then we learn to share that part with the world, meaning things we didn't get ourselves. So we'll start back up here. So some of the common psychic platforms are what Liz said, clairvoyance and empathic abilities. And any of the intuitions, clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, clair de lune.
And things that we haven't mentioned. I mean, there's a lot of things, many people are full body channels. They're just sensitive in general. Or, when we talk about clarification, like clairaudience, is that you hear things. Not that you're schizophrenic, but you do hear things, or you hear warnings, or you hear certain things, right?
Absolutely. And everybody has psychic superpowers. And what we're talking about, the basic ones that we all know about. But then we have the other ones too. There's kindness, appreciation, caring. There's also authenticity, empathic abilities, and intuition.
There's also connection to other people and the world around you, physical and non-physical, sending light, love, compassion, sincerity, humor, being lighthearted in the face of obstacles, generosity, and natural inner light.
I love that. So most psychic superpowers, like we said earlier, come from moments in your life where you feel fragmented, broken, and damaged. They're usually pieces from your past. Now, some people don't get through the other side of those and heal themselves. But what a psychic superpower is, it goes back to kindness and appreciation. So, for example, whenever I was a kid, my mom was just trying to survive and raise the boys. And my birth dad and my stepdad were not really fully contributing. So it made the dynamic in the household much worse. So my birth dad was a sadist. And one of the stories that my relatives will tell is after my birth dad was in a motorcycle accident and had his leg ripped off.
Oh, Lord.
He had a wooden leg for a long time. And one of my relative said he used it for firewood, but I was like, he didn't. Because he'd have to just carve another one, right?
Right.
Yeah, see? And so he would get mad at his boss. He would get on the bus. He would go to his mother's house and take his leg off and beat his mother with it. I mean, he was a sadist. And he wouldn't even let mama go to sleep at night for fear he wouldn't get up in time to go to work the next day. And this is after mama worked her 2 jobs and then took care of us boys. Mm-hmm. So the absence of kindness, the absence of sensitivity, and witnessing that volatility made me more empathic and sensitive and kind to other people than I feel like I would have been if I didn't have that experience. Some people don't know this, but I've heard that empaths, all children are empathic. All children are born sensitive, intuitive, empathic. But they say a narcissist is an empathic child that goes rogue, where they decide, if you can't beat them, then outsmart them with the same behavior they're using towards you.
Oh, wow.
So some people in my family, not my immediate family, followed the same sadistic patterns. Some of the other people in my family followed the addictive patterns. And some of the people in my family followed some lazy-ass patterns. And so they just followed the patterns and didn't fully heal. A psychic superpower is less about being psychic, clairvoyant, clairaudient, mediumship, and it's more about how you used your intuition when you were literally on the precipice of all of that hard knock life that you went through, each separate one, and then what you chose to be instead of taking the lazy way out. So I understand today at 60 that I know I'm a kind person. I know it consciously.
Yeah, you are.
But I also intuitively understand the magnitude of authentic kindness. And I don't run around looking for people who need it. I've learned my lesson that way. Because if you're running around thinking you're going to give somebody kindness who you think in your brain needs it, it might not end up as pretty as you think.
Yeah.
So it's just intuition is an in the moment by moment receiving of information, so you know which psychic superpower to contribute at that time.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is kindness. Sometimes it's just caring, being thoughtful, being considerate, just because, not for a payback.
No.
It is just because that's how you're wired. What are some of your, I'm going to ask you like you did me off camera, what's some of your PSPAs?
What's that, PSPA?
PSPA.
My psychic superpowers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm clairvoyant.
Yep.
And clairaudient. I remember hearing things from when I was quite young. Voices, female and male, would talk to me, and they would warn me about situations that to beware of, to keep me in safety.
Yeah.
Or also, I want to say that I'm a visionary. I see visions since I was quite young. Since I would say since I was a teenager, I started having visions of future events.
Yeah, I love that.
And so it continues today, but we'll see. You know, it's sometimes it can be disconcerting. You know, sometimes these things these gifts that you have can be quite disconcerting.
Speaking of these gifts, have you noticed lately on the earth plane, I've never seen this level of division in my entire life. And I think it's going to end up being a good thing when all is said and done, because when it's that level of divide, eventually something happens.
Something shakes out in the end.
Boom. Truth, propaganda, and flashy stuff is so artificial, empty calories, and man-made.
Yeah.
The foundation of what every human on this planet is about is the soul. It is your soul blueprint. It is what you come in with. Part of the using your psychic superpowers is understanding what you brought into this lifetime from other lifetimes and cultivating those attributes for the sheer joy of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I think I talked to you earlier before we got on camera about I had a vision of someone I had been dating, and I think I talked about it in one of the first seasons, but
was that Tyrone?
No, no.
What? No, just checking.
But someone I had dated that I cared about. We did end up eventually being together, and but I hadn't seen him in a couple of weeks, and all of a sudden another camera opened up. It's almost like you're seeing something, and then all of a sudden an inner camera opens up like a screen, and then I see what's going on. There's like an anxiety, and I see like the vision, and it's showing me a place I saw where two cars were driving, and there was a horrible accident, and that was it. And then the camera shuts down. Then a few weeks later, I see the guy that I was dating with, and he said, "Oh," I go, "Are you okay? Is everything good? What happened when I didn't see you?" And he goes, "I almost had this accident on, La Cienega Boulevard. I almost got decapitated." And I go,
What?
"Oh my God." I go, "Yeah, I saw it." And I said, "It's rather interesting that you get these forewarnings ahead of time, but this has happened many times in my life." So, but yeah.
You know what? That makes me realize that one of the main gifts that your psychic superpowers for everybody is one of the main things they bring to your attention is awareness.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And Sanaya,
yeah,
God rest her soul, I learned from personal power through awareness from her book about the power of awareness. And awareness is exactly what Liz was articulating. She could be just bipping through life, have a whole other screen pop up in her intuitive imagination that's showing her sensing things and seeing things, and then keep on going through life. That is an inner awareness, and that is something most people are lacking right now because they're too busy looking at the flashy, empty calorie thing, thinking that could be true when it isn't. Your core essence is this awareness.
Like I'll be watching, and this has happened many times, I'll be standing talking to people, and all of a sudden the background will shift, it'll change, and it'll just disappear. It'll be another background in another time and space. I was talking to a friend of mine, just waiting for an appointment that we were going to go to together. And all of a sudden we're in the middle of a desert, and the wind was blowing, and he was dressed differently, like in the Middle East. He had the garb on and everything. And I'm sitting here and I'm telling him exactly what is happening that I see. But yet I'm still in this present time existing here. But waiting, but all of a sudden that whole thing changed. Everything just changed all around me, and then it stopped, and then we were back. So that happens a lot. And
so what, for that specific incident, what did you gather intuitively? What was the purpose of that?
I think that it showed our connection, our past life connection, that we did have an experience in the Middle East during this time. And this is not the first time that we had this deep connection in regards to our metaphysics and our philosophy. And that's what it was showing me. Oh, this is one of my soul family.
Yeah.
So that's what also, it's a sign from the universe. This is part of your soul family, and we're just reintroducing him to you, so you know. And
we talked about this in earlier shows here in season 3, because we're only 2 or 3 shows in. And that is when I met my best friend. I knew that I knew that I knew that I knew him.
Yeah.
And he felt the exact same way to me. And in this lifetime, we literally picked up where we left off.
Absolutely.
And my dance teacher in this lifetime, is the first day I met her and she met me, we had that instant connection. And one day, not long after we met each other, we were in her office, and she just talked about past life, this particular past life, a Nordic background, and European, and I knew it was completely right.
Right.
Because when I walked in there, not knowing anything about dance, I ended up teaching dance and taking the kids to national competitions and winning all over the country. So
where did that come from? It had to come from a past life experience.
And tied into the past life experience, if you are aware of your psychic superpower, you pick up in this lifetime where you left off there with dance, choreography, design, color guard, creativity, intuition, doing things like this, as well as you come back in with a heightened sense of the power of kindness and generosity, mercy, compassion, and just being aware for other people's behalf. And I'll never forget this. I do not believe kindness is a human attribute. I honestly don't. And not because I didn't see any of it when I was a kid. In the first place, I felt it, experienced, and knew that it was authentic without having to pay it back.
Yeah.
Because I grew up around a bunch of people. If they did something, if they gave you a penny, you better have $1,000 to give them, and they took it out of your ass or somewhere else. And long story short, it was when the angels came in and they were helping Mom after my dad beat her, and I was sitting on the floor picking up busted pieces of bowls and stacking them very quietly because I didn't know if Mom was dead or not, and she was 9 months pregnant.
Right.
And then the light came through the walls. The light itself was consciousness. Then the angels came into the light, and they didn't speak. They just let me know everything was going to be okay. And that kindness, that awareness, that knowing, that compassion, it was priceless. I didn't say a word. I was a little kid. I was just covered with goosebumps. And I remember thinking telepathically, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, because I didn't know what to do for my mom.
Well, you were a child.
Yeah. And so I learned to be an adult child, which I resented as a young adult person. But now looking back, it is part of the psychic superpower awareness.
Part of your experience.
Yeah, it's part of the blueprint, child. Listen, when Jesus said, who wants to go down there and be in a trailer park and the projects and get the shit beat out of them every week? I went, I'll do it.
You probably did.
Who wants to be homosexual too? I'll do it. Who wants to be white trash? I'll do it. I stopped raising my hand, though.
So funny.
Yeah, it was terrible. So tell me another one of your psychic superpowers that you love to receive from other people.
Okay. You know, I like it when, I'm just trying to think, psychic superpower that I have that I like to receive from other people.
Yeah.
I think that what I like is when, I was going to say when people do things for me without me saying anything, knowing that I need it, or that I mean, that I could probably do it myself, but they saw that they just had a feeling that this is something that I needed. So I'm going to send this to you, Liz. Like, I have a friend, Alice, who's so wonderful, and we were healers together for many years, and we went through many of our classes together, and she was one who was like that. She would always go out of her way and go, Liz, I thought you just might need this, or let me help you with this. I wouldn't even have to ask her. She would just know automatically.
That is, so you nailed a big one right there.
Yeah, knowingness.
Knowing, inner knowing.
Knowingness.
And what is the intuitive thing that's, you know that you know that you know, but you don't know how you know that you know?
Knowingness.
I'm sorry, it was knowingness.
Well, that's what...
I didn't get the music. I didn't get the memo.
That's what an inner knowing or inner knowingness. That's what my teacher would call it.
Okay.
You know?
Thank you, Fatima.
Yeah, she's the best.
And so what I heard too, with that, with your friend, was caring.
Yeah.
You love it when people are caring.
Yeah.
And that's awareness. But it's also thoughtful. And then the knowing, because now I know what knowing is. You know what I mean, girl?
What is it?
Knowing. You knowing what I mean.
Okay.
And instinct. There's
Yeah.
just an instinct, an organic instinct, knowing, awareness.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
And it's actually, you can tell because there's a flow. There's a simple flow that there is no block. There's nothing. You just maneuver your way through the moment in life, and you can just feel it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it feels good. So let's do a fun recap. If you're just tuning in, by the way, I'm Eddie Conner.
And I'm lizlayug.
And you're watching Coming Out with Liz and Eddie. And the title of this show is Using Your Psychic Superpowers.
Yes.
So, Liz, based on what we've just pontificated and articulated, what is it that you think are your personal psychic superpowers? Not just the clairvoyant part, but the other.
I would say kindness, caring, I make myself available when no one else is.
There you go. What?
When there's no one there to assist,
Yeah.
I see where there's a lack. I see where there's a lack in the situation, and I make myself available to that person or that thing.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
I love that. Psychic superpowers. And does everybody have them? Yes, they
Yes,
do.
they do.
Does everybody know that they have them? Most people don't know
Well, yeah, they don't.
until this show. Just hit rewind, refresh, renew, click like, click subscribe, and you too can know what your psychic superpower is on eternal loop.
And I want to add this, Edward, is that everyone has a psychic superpower. How our psychic abilities, whatever. It's just as we get older, it's just trained out of us, basically. We're trained not to see that. I can remember, and I'm sure you've had an experience like this, when I was 5 years old, and I remember going up to my mother and telling her some things, and immediately she told me, shh, don't say anything, don't say anything. It runs in the family. And I'm like, what? So for years, I didn't say anything. I didn't want to say anything. You're afraid.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. And the thing I love the most about your psychic superpowers is they are born out of the hard knocks in your life, the moments where you felt fragmented, broken, damaged, not enoughness, insecure for whatever reason. And then the really hard stuff where, you know, people are beaten and hurt and all kinds of horrific things. But if you use your soul's light internally, privately or whatever, you will cultivate back into you. Listen, when you go through those hard knock things, when Tim was, you know, took him 3.5 years because Tim was late for everything. Yeah. He didn't do anything half-assed. Tim's like, I'm going to drag this out. So when he had AIDS, he had a great sense of humor about it.
That's rough.
And I remember going through it, feeling helpless, powerless. What more can I do for him? Because I didn't want him, obviously, to pass away. But I also knew I had no control over it. And I went through every dark, insecure, not enoughness emotion you can possibly imagine. And then I also felt sorry for myself, too.
Sure.
I think I was 29 or 30 when he passed away. And I look back at it now. This is the awareness piece. It was part of my superpower blueprint. It was part of what I had to, so that when I do readings for other people, I have compassion.
That's right.
I have empathy. I have the ability to connect to whatever that is I'm supposed to connect to be of service for you, as it were.
Yes.
And looking back, I would do it. I would go through it 100 times I would do it again and again and again because I know the other side of it now.
So what's your favorite psychic superpower, Edward?
You know what? Honestly, I think it's humor. I love people with a good sense of humor.
I would say you're right.
Thank you.
He's very funny.
I love people with a great sense of humor because that has personally helped me. And Tim taught me that.
Uh-huh.
Listen, there's things I can't say here on camera that Miss Tammy said as she's getting closer and closer to the end, as it were. He said, listen, you know, you don't have skeletons in your closet as long as I look like this. And I'm like, Tim.
Oh, my God.
And so it's like he had his hard knocks too, but he went into it. And when he made peace with it, peace. It is humor
and peace.
With peace.
Oh, yeah. Love that. Love that, Edward.
Wow.
Love it. That's great.
So you have psychic superpowers. It could be any intuitive aspect of yourself.
Yes.
It was born when you were beat down, knocked down, broken, drug behind the mule on the farm, whatever it was. And then how you got through it. And if you came out on the other side of that a better human being, if you came out on the other side of that more empathic and kind and caring and thoughtful and sensitive to yourself first and other people next, then you are living your psychic superpower, and it brings you into greater awareness, greater peace, greater enlightenment and enlightenment. We love the word enlightenment on our podcast. Then you're batting 1,000.
Right. And can I just add?
Yes.
We had talked about this before we even started, but I also feel that, you know, everything that Edward said about the fragmented, broken, and damaged pieces from the past, but I also want to say that from your past lives, you know, you would have accumulated some of these or developed some of these psychic superpowers or abilities in previous incarnations. And so however you believe in our previous past life, you may have had these same situations happen to you. So as you come into this lifetime now, you're just tapping into these other parts of yourself and bringing these gifts forward to be a service.
100%.
Right? Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. Hey, our next show is going to be all about creating self-love. And
perfect.
Do you love yourself?
I absolutely love myself.
Do you touch yourself in that special way?
Shh.
That's a different show.
Yeah.
I'm Eddie Conner.
And I'm lizlayug.
And you've been watching Coming Out with Liz and Eddie. And until we see each other next time, please remember to keep your thoughts, feelings, and your frequencies high, fast, and pure so that you can unlock the universe within. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.